You referenced some of the shooting struggles in the Tulsa game. Is that do you feel like that's a mental thing for the players? Are you seeing better shooting in practice?
Uh, yeah, I think it's the philosophy of shooting. If you look at those guys, and I've gone back, we chart every three they take in every competitive part of practice. When I mean competitive, anything, pretty much anything 4-on-4 live or more, 4-on-4 or 5-on-5 live. And right now, nobody is outside of Jeremiah shooting at the percentages that they are on a regular basis in practice. I think that the last two games they've gotten rhythm shots. I think prior to that, our offense was so stagnant and the lack of ball movement that I didn't feel like they were going to make shots. But now I feel like the way the ball's moving and there's understanding of roles that I was surprised that we didn't shoot better in Tulsa. And I just, I think water finds its mark a little bit and when it comes to those type of things. But the thing we talk about is all the time. It's confidence. Coach can't give you confidence, and that's a misnomer. Performance. You have to perform to gain confidence. In order to perform, you have to be prepared. So that's kind of what we lived in. I think the guys done a pretty good job of that during the course of the last few weeks.
How is Jeremiah taking such a step forward from where he was last season, and what's the next thing for him to even have a bigger role in the offense?
Well, I think for Jeremiah, that's a good question. I think for Jeremiah, you're dealing with a guy that, especially in this environment, his enthusiasm and his energy really permeates even more, right? Because you're dealing with nothing but sterile environments. And so I think that energy really is something that's not only more valuable for our team, but I think it lifts him up even more. And he does need to take the next step and is going to have the opportunity to do that with our team in terms of not turning the ball over as much, being a creator for others instead of just for himself, and making the game easier for those around him. I feel like he can take that next step, and I'm anxious to work with him on that. And he's just got to stay humble and stay about and understand the things that allowed him to be successful, and certainly not get away from that.
Some of the other guys had bigger roles than him last year, but what's the key for Micah, Zach, or even David Mamadou to take some of the similar steps that JD's obviously taken this year?
Yeah, I think for those guys, it's reps, it's the body. The physicality of our league. I think is I talked about Micah losing the weight he lost, and we didn't work with these guys, so I don't think in the summer, to be quite honest, that Chris Vogt or Micah or maybe even Keith to a certain extent took the next step because they were limited in their ability to work out, and so I'm hoping that takes place now that we've probably done more skill development and more shooting than we've ever done in order to hopefully make up for that. Especially during this period in Christmas, holidays where you get more hours with them.
Coach, you mentioned Chris Vogt. Just looking at his numbers, I know he's had foul trouble in some of these games, but against USF, he had 13 in the last three. He had 0, 0, and 4. What does he need to do offensively to kind of get back on rhythm?
Yeah, I think he's offensive rebounding for one. I think getting more offensive rebounds and putting them back in. I think running the floor, getting some easies in transition. I've said it from the beginning. We've got to do a better job to get him the ball, and our guys got to have a better sense of where he's at on the floor. I think, USF, we ran a lot of quick hitters for him. Probably got to get back to that to a certain degree. I think he's just got to find his mojo a little bit. Kind of, want to see the ball go in the basket a little bit. And most guys do that from the free throw line. He's not a great free throw shooter, but I think rebounding the basketball would really help, getting out in transition, making some plays. And he's got some shoulder issues. I mean, he's got to stay healthy. Being fresh for him is important too, both mentally and physically.
Coach, I think we forget sometimes that, these guys are 18, 19, 20 years old. Maybe not you, but just in general, how much has mental health played a role in just these last struggles of these last few games?
Well, I think in general, Keith, just look at all the guys across the board. We've got teams in our league that, are having some great success that have lost their best players because of that. We're playing, and I don't know why exactly necessarily, but, you just see it across the country about the opt-outs and the things that take place. This is not a normal year, and it's not a normal day, and and those things are, it's magnified right now because people are talking about it, but it's important. We've gone through it on our team. We've got one young man right now that's going through it openly, and we're here to support him like we've been since the beginning. So it's just, they don't get to go home to their family. I get to go home to Lisa and the kids. They don't. They not on weekends, not on a day off. I mean, this bubble this bubble for us is real. I mean, we haven't had a team dinner together in a room at a restaurant in over a year. I guess the last time was the night we flew to Texas to have a nice dinner at Ruth Chris and flew back because we didn't have a conference. We didn't have a conference tournament game. We just flew back, and that was the last time this team had a meal together. So when you played football, but basketball is a boutique, right? So basketball is smaller groups, and it can often be difficult because you don't have such a large group. It's smaller guys, and we found our guys are going back to their room more by themselves. It's just it's more challenging than I probably anticipated, and for them at that age, that can be hard.
To follow up on that, is there ways day to day that you're trying to mix stuff up, do anything different at practice to try to make it, I don't know, less bubble by yourself like?
So we had practice in the arena the other day, and I guess some pictures were out in this because I think the football players were eating in the arena, so they got a chance to watch a little bit of it. And we never practiced in the arena. And the reason we did is because we went downstairs and had a wiffle ball stadium built in the practice facility. So we played a wiffle ball game, and for which the coaches won. I was pitching. We won in 6. Zach asked how many innings we were going to play, and I said, well, until the coaches win. So we got up in the top of the 6th, and we won in the bottom of the 6th. And the game was over. But, yeah, so we did that. It's about the extent of what you can do. We've talked about some other things, but we really can't do any other thing. So they had a good time. It was fun.
Can you spin it with a wiffle ball? You got to give.
I was spinning a little bit. We had might have had 2 or 3 different balls that I was able to hide and throw just to certain guys that everybody couldn't go very far when it hit. That might have happened a little bit. They didn't quite catch on to that. Might have the umpires in our pocket a little bit, but other than those few things, I thought it was a pretty good time.
Who's good and bad at wiffle ball among your players?
Oh, I'm happy to mention that. As far as our staff or players.
Players.
As far as our players go, I think the ones that were good, it was very far and few between. Sam was pretty good. DeJulius, thank God he plays basketball. I think they skipped him in the order a few times. I think DeJulius was supposed to bat 9th, and I swear they skipped him at least one time through. We joked with Mamadou and those guys. It's not cricket, Dave's from not Dave, but Rob's from England. So we joked it was a different bat. I'm trying to think who was good. Mattson acted like he was good, Mason, but he was the last out of the game. I struck him out on 4 pitches. So Tari might have hit a home run that we called foul. That was really fair. Other than that, I thought it was a pretty good game.
So that's a lot of off the court stuff, in terms of like mental health. How challenging has it been to establish? You always talk about the roles that players have, to establish those with some of the, whether it's somebody coming and going or just kind of the whole unknown of this season.
I think they've gotten established more and more. I think we're closer to. I'm going to use the word breakthrough. I think we're closer to understanding who we are, and what we can be. Now that we're how many games in? 8 games in. I forgot that we're only 8 games in. This time of year, we're usually 16 games in or whatever. So I feel like we've taken some steps in terms of that in the last few days, from an understanding of, for me, more of a clarity about what we have and how we need to play.
At what point do you feel like an urgency to win? Do you ever press, or do you just want those cards to play out on the court and see where they lay at the end of the season?
No, it's Cincinnati, so you always have a sense of urgency, and yeah, it's not fun to be inside my head right now, or on a daily basis. So, I joke with my wife. I see where coaches, some coaches drink. We have access to drinks in my house, but I haven't touched them. Though my office at my house is connected to our bar area, which would really be really good if I started that. But it's stressful at times. But when you watch your guys grow and you watch your guys get better and understand what they want to do, and then you find your guys are frustrated, can't make shots, you really worry about them more. About how they're going to take the next step and what they're going to do. And the energy they've had the last few practices have been as rewarding to me as anything, because in a pandemic where you've lost several in a row and there's no students on campus, sometimes you fight that, and I haven't fought that at all with these guys, which has been that's why I like this group a lot, and why I do think we're going to end up where we need to be. Obviously, it's got to happen sooner than later because the losing needs to be done. We need to start winning games.
Mamadou came back. I think he dealt with foul trouble against Tulsa, but he looked effective in the minutes he was out there. Could you feel his presence back and having that athlete, that rebounder down there?
Yeah, he blocked his shot, moved around. You can feel his presence on the bench. You saw the enthusiasm he has. He's a bundle of energy. It's like anything else. It's going to take him a while to get his feet under him. But I think he's had quite a few extended practices now, and I think he'll play that much better going forward. And he understands what he needs to do for us. It helps with his athleticism at the rim. We just got to do a better job handling the physicality piece that the other teams can bring when he's at the 5.
Whether from your first season at NKU or obviously I know you were at Alabama when they had a coaching change. Is there anything you took from maybe some tougher stretches at any point in your coaching career that applied to?
Yeah. I think for me, when I took the job, I knew last year was going to be a year that we were going to go after it. I mean, with Jaron and Trey, I mean, those two are special players, and then you had Jay into the mix, who was we really miss him. I mean, the way he spaced the floor. So I knew transitionally, just from a recruiting thing and just the classes that were made, I knew this year would be typically a coach's first year, maybe, if there was people left. So we went on that team. We were headed to the NCAA tournament. I felt like we had a chance to have some success, and I knew this would be the transitional year. And we put together an awfully tough schedule for that, and then obviously we were stuck with a schedule that we couldn't really change. Knowing that in the stretch that I've had before, I mean, I understand where this team, how to get them there, and how we need to get there. We do need to have some individuals step up and play well. We do need to shoot the ball better. But I also think there's some things schematically that we're now getting in place that really help them. And, whether that means we win at SMU or Wichita, it's 2 tough places to go, and you got to try to get off the skid. But I do feel like we're in a better place now in terms of, I haven't done a great job with these guys early on because I just didn't really understand our team. Now I feel like I do, so I think we'll see a better product on the floor. Certainly than what we've seen to this point, because I don't think we've played particularly well in a lot of stretches.